Let me just make sure this thing's good. Yes. Okay. Good, very early morning, my YouTube people. About going on the 2 a.m. hour where I am. By the way, one thing I can't stand is when people say 2 a.m. in the morning. As an English teacher, just a former English teacher, just certain things drive me nuts linguistically, and that's one of those things. 2 a.m. in the morning. I know what AM means. The other thing is, do what now in response to like everything that like somebody doesn't hear right or understand, rather than like, huh, what, or say again. Anyway, those are just a couple little things. I wanted to go ahead and tell you guys that I went and saw, I guess, night before last now, I went and saw The Mandalorian and Grogu with my dad. I always get AMC movie cards during Christmas and my birthday and stuff. And although that's great, I really struggle to use the things because, just not very many movies are good these days. Also, I get like $50 on these things, and literally, if you get like a ticket and a drink, it's like two movies. I mean, pretty much, and like a little bit off of like something else. So, I thought, I mean, whenever you can go see Star Wars in the theater, you go see it. Um, so I wanted to kind of like convey what I thought here. Um, so first off, I want to say I don't think this is the type of thing that you can go see if you haven't seen The Mandalorian. Um, my dad went and saw it um, without knowing any of the story. Um, my dad's the kind of guy who will watch anything out of order. It can be real frustrating because he tends to have a lot of questions, and it's like, dude, Star Trek is not non-serialized anymore. Like, you can't just watch any random episode. Now, I will admit that that has some good things about it and some bad things about it. They actually, really, the only bad thing about non-serialized TV is they have to explain every character every episode, and it takes up a lot of time. We have to get that Spock is half human and has an emotional thing every episode. We have to get that Data is an android every episode. Um, when something's serialized, they tend to kind of do that less, but you can't really miss an episode. So I do get that there is a lot of value in just being able to pick a thing and just watch a thing. Um, but again, that being said, I'm not sure this is the type of thing you can go and see without at least knowing some of the story of The Mandalorian. Now, I also want to say that I went and saw this in 3D. The last time I saw a movie in 3D, though, that was, I think, in China. Like, really that long ago. That's like going on like 20 years ago now or some shit like that. And the whole movie was not in 3D, only a part of it was. This whole movie was in 3D, and I've got to say, man, that's an interesting way to see a movie. I think it has a few flaws still. It's not exactly perfect. If you have astigmatism, it seems to really kind of play with your eyes now and then. But that was certainly an interesting way to see a movie. There were perhaps a couple of times I forgot I was seeing a movie. I was like, am I on the set with these dudes? It was really good. Um, but in some ways it can be kind of distracting. I'm not sure how else to put it other than that. I mean, obviously moviegoers tend to know. My brother's a huge moviegoer. They go and see. My brother goes and sees movies I wouldn't give the time of day. I'm not really criticizing him. It's just, you know, I don't really care to see another Marvel movie. I you know um, so I guess the first thing is I guess I'm going to do two things here: The Mandalorian as a series and The Mandalorian and Grogu as a movie. Um, I don't think that The Mandalorian is a great series. I think it's good. It's not terrible. Well, it wasn't terrible until the until the jump the shark episode, and I think everybody who's seen that knows what I'm talking about. Jack Black, I'll just put it out there. Putting Jack Black in something is not a good way to sorry, Jack, but you've played Dewey Finn too long, dude, and as much as you try and step out of that, like, it's hard not to see you as Dewey Finn, you know? Um, I could not see Jack Black in a movie, like, ever again, and I'd be fine with that. It's like I could never hear Sweet Home Alabama again, and be good with that, too. Sometimes things just get to be too much for me. I don't know why people still give Metallica the time of day, you know. But obviously, there are plenty of people who don't agree with me, so I get that too. But I think basically The Mandalorian was a pretty good show. There were a few missteps here and there, but I think the thing that a lot of people say about The Mandalorian, I would say that it's true, is it is like watching a western. It's like Gunsmoke, kind of, but on Tatooine and in space. You'd be surprised how much of The Mandalorian takes place on Tatooine. Um, the other thing would be, to get the entire Mandalorian story, you have to watch 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. I don't know why people give a lot of alleged Star Wars fans seem to give series that really develop characters like OBK, like Book of Boba Fett, a hard time. Solo, a Star Wars story. They tend to give these things a hard time, but I kind of really like character development, and those things did very well at that. But they did the typical thing where let's cross these series over and make it so they have to watch, you know, both of them. So basically, in order to get the whole Mandalorian story, after you're done with season 2, you have to at least watch episode 5 and 6 of the Book of Boba Fett, which Boba is not really in those episodes. It's kind of obvious what they're doing. Um, so stuff like that gets a little annoying, but mostly a good show. And I would say that The Mandalorian and Grogu is mostly a good movie. It is far from the best Star Wars movie I've ever seen. Um, but it was really cool um, to go and be able to see Star Wars in the theater after not having been able to do that for a while. The last Star Wars movie I saw in theater would have been Rogue One, I believe, and that was some time ago now. It was cool to see that in theater as well. Um, but uh, would I recommend going and see, let me see. Before I get into that, things that stuck out. There was a lot of old tech in this. Now, one thing that you can kind of, I think, notice about the Star Wars universe is there are a few companies that make blasters, there are a few companies that make droids, right? And it's like like once the Clone Wars kind of hit, um, and like the C series droids like Chopper, I wouldn't call Chopper obsolete to his face, because Chopper will like murder the crap out of you. Uh, he'll certainly murder the crap out of another droid. Um, but but you know, once the C series droids kind of became obsolete, they went to like the R and the B series droids, and those stuck around for a while. Just like the PO units, the C units like C3PO, um, kind of stuck around a while. I mean, the series before them were kind of like obsolete though. Um, and you can say the same thing about like most of the tech from the universe. There's one of those walkers from the Clone Wars that Grogu and Din Djarin use for a little while. They're the old like big ass. I forget their exact models. The the walkers were in it. Um, that's kind of cool to see. It was cool to see Rhoda the Hutt again, and that he's like Rhoda's like Boku, man. He's like ripped and stuff. He's like not in bad shape. He's a little huskier than Boku was. Those of you who've read the Darth Vader comics, Boku the Hutt was like ripped, man, like abs and everything. I'd say that Rhoda's almost there, but like he's not in terrible shape for a Hutt. He's still heavy as crap. I mean, he's a big slug thing, so I'm sure he doesn't weigh nothing. But um, anybody notice that ever since like the Clone Wars, the relationships between the twins has been kind of weird? I mean, I'm not trying to. Well, I guess I am trying to imply that they they're always together. They're always touching each other. They're always like sleeping together. It's a little. I don't know how hut culture works, but they seem awfully close. Um, but you know, it it it's cool to see Rhoda. Now, Zeb's in this as well. Um, if you don't know who Zeb is, I mean, it's weird because it's like they've orchestrated it so you kind of have to watch everything. You know, if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you don't really know Anakin Skywalker. If you haven't seen Rebels, I don't see how you'd really know who Zeb is. Um, you would also come to realize that season one of Ahsoka is like pretty much Rebels season five, minus Zeb, kind of. Uh, they have really tied these universes up so that it is very hard to not watch all of them if you want the entire story, along with reading a buttload of comic books. Because if you haven't read the 2017 and 2020 Darth Vader runs, you really, again, don't know Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader for that example. Uh, for for that, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is, um, it was it was cool to see everybody, kind of. Of course, Carson Teva is in it, although he's not in it as much as he's been in some other things. Carson was in Ahsoka and Mandalorian a lot more. He kind of had a little lighter cameo in this particular movie. Um, but I really like Carson. He's I just love that dude. Like, all right, I'll tell you, but you're not gonna believe me. uh, but at the same time, I think the movie relied too heavily on action. It was very action packed. And Din Djarin is sometimes a little bit OP'd, you know? Um, and the other thing that's kind of annoying is it's like they made it seem like Din Djarin was going to grow past this whole, like, I've got to be part of this cult and keep my helmet on all the time thing. Because, you know, he met Bo-Katan, Kryze, and realized that she's totally a Mandalorian. I mean, she's part of the royal family. And she doesn't keep her helmet on all the time. And, you know, it's much easier to be clandestine at times if you can take your armor off, you know, and be like a normal person, a little bit. But they kind of stifled that character growth in the Mandalorian series, and it kind of expands to here. But I guess overall, I really enjoyed it. It is a long movie. It's like 2 hours and 12 minutes. Make that 2 hours and 42 minutes with all the previews. So would I recommend going and seeing it? Yeah, but I would wait until... I don't know if dollar theaters are a thing anymore. If it goes to some type of dollar cinema, I might wait for that. But if it... I wouldn't spend the $17 to see it in 3D. Although it looked great, I could do with seeing that in 2D and you know, save a few dollars. Also, I came to realize that a small drink is actually quite a bit at a movie theater. It's this. This is the exact cup, and I did not finish that. You know. But yeah, I wouldn't spend $17 on it. I don't really have, well, is there anything else kind of neat that happened? Oh, one kind of neat thing for you fans of A New Hope is they do this gladiatorial thing, right? And I forget what that game is. You know, it's like chess. It's a hollow game. They play it like chess. And Chewbacca and 3PO were playing in A New Hope when they got on the Falcon. And basically, it was all those characters. And in fact, the one picks the guy up and like slams him down, and it was it was really cool to see him do that. Anyway, I need to end the video because it's going to be unuploadable if I'm not careful. Anyway, if you go see it, come back and let me know what you thought about it, or if you have seen it, let me know what you thought about it. Sorry about the light spoilers. I'll make sure and put that in the description. Please like and subscribe. I'm always like trying to grow my channel. Of course, after like nearly 21 years of running a YouTube channel, I have less than 200 subs still. Probably because I just can't pick a direction to go in. I noticed that all my older guitar review videos tend to have like tens of thousands of views, but you know, buying guitars all the time is really expensive. I'm just not in a position to do that anymore. I might try and review a few things I have left around, but we'll see how all that goes. Anyway, goemonronin signing out. Make sure and have a good day, guys. Bye.